Well, hello everyone, and welcome to your monthly Lead the Field Q&A call. My name is Tracy Caligiuri, and I'm happy to welcome you today. Just a friendly reminder to make sure that you send your questions in advance through your membership area. You'll find the box to submit them under the Q&A session tab inside your Lead the Field membership area so that we can get your questions in advance. So, ready if you are, Bob.
I'm all ready. Thank you, Tracy.
Our first question here is from Ching. She has two questions. I've considered being on your coaching team for a while. However, after studying with you for more than 5 years, I have increased my income only marginally and not significantly as I planned. How can I coach others authentically and effectively if I haven't ever been able to coach myself?
Well, you might not have improved your income, but have you improved other areas of your life? You've got to have a bigger window to look at than just your money. And if your money hasn't improved, that's because you haven't improved it, but you can. I would suggest you stop and ask yourself how many sources of income you have, Ching, and then make up your mind you're going to add some, because you can add sources of income. I mean, that is really the secret to wealth, is having multiple sources of income. And you can change that. You really can. Tracy, do we have group study on Lead the Field on Facebook?
No, we don't have a Facebook group for Lead the Field.
Maybe we should start one, should we?
We could look into that, of course.
Why don't you look into it, and then let's get people looking at adding sources of income. Because I think that is really one of the secrets. You know, you can improve a lot of areas. If you don't improve the financial area, it can impact a lot of areas. But you can definitely change that. You just got to make a decision you're going to change it. You don't wait to see if it happens. You make a decision that it happens. And the only prerequisite to making the decision is, do I want to? You say, yes, I want to, then make the decision you're going to do it. And then the way will be shown. Talk to people who are earning more money. Saying, how are you doing it? Can you help me? And you've got to understand that you're going to have to start doing things you're not now doing. So, you know, it's a matter of getting comfortable with it.
All right, and her second question, when I'm getting opposite results physically or financially to what I want, I can't help but feel discouraged. What should I do to stop the negative momentum?
Well, understand results are caused by actions. The actions are the paradigm being expressed. So you've got to start studying your behavioral patterns. What do you do? Start in the morning. What do you do when you first get up in the morning? What kind of behavior are you involved in? What are you studying? Who do you mix with? I have found our environment is very important. Carl Menninger said it's more important than heredity. And I think he's right. So start taking a look at who you're mixing with. What are you studying? And take a look at the habit patterns you're involved in. Are they serving you? And if you're going to change a habit that's not serving you, we'll say is a negative habit, you want to replace it with one that's a polar opposite. If you go to break a negative habit and you don't consciously and deliberately replace it with a positive one, you'll replace it with another negative. Nature abhors a vacuum. Okay?
Right, next one's from Kendra. When selling B2B and talking to the owner, how do I make sure their decision isn't influenced by other non-decision, unasked or disconcerting comments about what we're selling?
When selling business to business, well, I think you have to ask yourself, is this a decision maker that I'm talking to? I think you ask the right questions, you're going to know that. You will see if it's their decision or if it's somebody else. That's a matter of really understanding the other person. You know, I have been saying here for the past month or so One of the most important ideas that I've learned this year came in a quote from Stephen Covey. He said, don't listen to hear, listen to understand. When you're talking to someone, listen to understand where they're coming from. You don't just hear what they're saying, you're starting to hear why they're saying it. And I think maybe if you start doing that, Kendra, you're going to find yourself more effective.
Next one's from Colin. I want to live in my own place. However, I have a lot of debt and not much cash to last more than 3 months to pay required expenses. Should I wait until I have a clientele?
No, move. Get your own place. When are you going to start? Are you going to wait until something outside changes for you to live the way you want to live? Make your move right now and then get busy. Change your income. Go ahead.
Okay. Next one's from Kandasamy. Hi, Bob. Every time I work out how much money I'm going to make today, shortly afterwards, I receive a phone call to cancel a service. At the end of the day, I don't receive what I expected. It is against the law of nature and opposite to your teachings. Why is it? How can I overcome this behavior?
Well, it sounds like you're expecting this to happen. You say every time I work out how much money I'm going to make today, shortly afterward, I receive. See, you're talking about what you're expecting. Don't see that happening. And when somebody phones to cancel, resell them. Stop expecting what you don't want. Start expecting what you do want. Okay?
All right, next one's from Liana. How can I develop intuition?
Well, first of all, understand what intuition is. Intuition is a mental faculty, your intuitive factor. It enables you to pick up and translate vibration. Everything vibrates. Everything vibrates. Everything in the whole universe vibrates. Now, when you're with another person, understand that person you're looking at, their body is a mass of energy. And it's a mass of energy and a very high speed of vibration. If you were to take their hand and look at it through a microscope, you'd see a bunch of little dots, little energy just dancing all over the place. That's what a body is. That body's vibrating according to the way their mind is operating at the particular time. And you will feel it. As their mood shifts, you will feel the mood shift. You'll be with someone and all of a sudden you know something just really bad is bothering them. And you'll feel it. Well, it's your intuitive factor that feels it. Feeling is conscious awareness of vibration. So your intuitive factor picks up a vibration, you feel it. That's the language of the subconscious, is feeling. Well, you want to realize that you have this intuitive factor. When you're with another person, I don't care who it is, it could be your spouse or somebody you're working with, when you're with them, give them all of your conscious attention. Don't let anything that's going on around you cloud your attention. Give them all your conscious attention and be aware of the energy around them. You'll start to feel their energy. And you'll feel whether it's troubled or feel whether it's pleasant, but you will start to feel it. Now, if they say something and you were already thinking it, you probably picked up the vibration. It would be precognition. You'd know it's coming. When you ask them, say, were you just thinking this? And they say, yeah, how did you know that? That's positive feedback. The more positive feedback you get, the more confidence you have in what you're picking up. It's something that you don't develop it overnight, but if you start working on it, you can get very good at it. I'm very good at it, but I've been playing with it for a long time. Okay?
Okay, and her second question, how can I maintain inner peace while dealing with negative people?
Well, quit thinking they're negative. They're not always negative. They're probably negative a good part of the time, but they're not always negative. And if it's people you're around a lot, sit down and, like it could be members of a family, sit down and write out 4 or 5 really good things about them. And regardless of what they're saying or what they're doing, you just think of those 4 or 5 good things. Just whenever you're around them, that's all you think about. You just see good in them. Don't let them or what they're doing change it. Take and write out the last chapter in As a Man Thinketh on serenity. Write it out by hand. Starts out, calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It's the result of long and patient effort in self-control. Its presence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought. Well, write that last chapter. It's only 4 small pages. Write it out every day for 30 days. You're going to find yourself living in a very relaxed state.
Okay, next one's from Harry. I have a short-term goal I am working towards. However, I've realized I'm struggling to let go and let God. I work hard towards this goal, but I am too hard on myself, and it is lowering my vibe action. Any advice?
Stop doing that. Stop being hard on yourself. Start being nice to yourself. Sit down and write out what you're grateful for. You know, in the first page, in the 7th chapter in The Science of Getting Rich, it's on gratitude. He said the entire process of mental adjustment and atonement, and that's what you need right now, is a mental adjustment. The entire process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word: gratitude. Start writing out what you're grateful for. And you're going to find, write it out every day. 10 things you're grateful for. Write them out 2 or 3 times a day. You could be writing down the same things every day. That's fine. That doesn't matter. But start writing them out. And you're going to be so glad you did, because it'll change everything, how you see everything.
Next one's from Kristen. Hi, Bob. My question is about tithing. Can you give some examples of great organizations that you can suggest giving tithing to? Could you also expand on best practices? Thanks.
Well, we give a lot of money to the Unstoppable Foundation. So we tithe to them every week, a lot of money. We're building schools in Africa. That's a good one. Go to unstoppablefoundation.org, I believe it is. Go look there. It's run by Cynthia Kersey. She's a wonderful woman, and they're doing phenomenal work. That's a good place to go.
Okay, next one's from Oscar. Hi, Bob. I'm getting ready to buy a big diesel truck for the business. I just fired the driver that was going to drive the truck. Should I continue with the purchase? I have my vision.
Absolutely. Nature abhors a vacuum. Get a truck and you'll have a driver in it before long.
All right, next one's from Christy. Whoops. Hold on 1 second, I gotta go back.
Back it up, kid.
I'll just read off my other screen so I don't mess it up. This is from Christy. She says, if you are studying TIR and a new lead the field, how much time do you devote to studying both? Or do you recommend studying one at a time?
Probably study one at a time. You can study one and look at the other periodically, but pick one and lock into it. And understand the trick is to use it, not just read it, use it.
The other question was from Jane. Please talk about the difference of holding the thought of your goal, writing it every day, versus, as the law says, release your thought Godward, let it go. I think I am holding my desire too tightly.
Well, you can't hold desires too tightly. Desire is an idea that you're emotionally involved with, and so you'll enjoy it because you're emotionally involved with it. Just understand, when you get emotionally involved, there's all kinds of things happening that that you're not aware are happening, and start to enjoy it. You know, like there's all kinds of stuff. Listen to this. Forget the idea that you should be able to see tangibly and in full view all the resources necessary to leverage your performance. There are resources you can access that cannot be seen, and they are far greater and more powerful than the resources you might readily observe. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Think of an iceberg, where you see only the tip of what's really there. Just as real, though out of sight, are invisible resources ready to make a profound difference in what you can achieve. All you have to do is open up and let them in. There's all kinds of things going on that we don't see in the non-physical world. You don't see your voice flying through time and space like mine is right now. You hear it, you're aware it's moving, and it is in the non-physical universe. Doesn't matter where you are, my voice will be there if you're on this frequency. Well, that's the same as good coming to you. Okay.
All right, next one's from Tara. In the past, sales and network marketing have always been challenging for me. I'm aware that this is due to the fact that my father was a pushy, sometimes dishonest, and competitive salesperson. He was very successful in sales. Currently with the TIR consulting program, I am having a challenge moving forward working with clients due to this. I find the marketing and emails around the networking aspect from TIR trigger my negative experience with network marketing. What can I do?
Well, change your attitude toward it. Selling is not doing something to people, it's doing something for people. So you've got to change how you see things. And possibly some of the things you perceived your father were doing wrong, you might not have been doing wrong at all. It might have been right. I think we should become a little more aggressive. Sometimes you have to really hit people over the head to get them to help themselves. See, people want to do better. Their old paradigms are holding them back. That's what TIR is all about. It'll help them. And as a consultant, it's your responsibility to cause them to really stop and look at what they're doing with their life. And don't be hesitant to give them a strong suggestion. But I would change your attitude towards what you're saying here. Start to see selling as something good. Nothing happens till somebody sells something. Elmer Wheeler said that, and he was right. Okay?
All right, next one's from Tamar. I noticed that you've included working with the law audios and workbooks in the bonus section of this course. How would you recommend us studying utilizing this material along with the Lead the Field course?
Oh, well, take it, just take it and study anywhere in it. Anywhere in it. You see, the idea is not to just study it, but it's to understand and apply it. So you could take the working with the law and just from time to time open it anywhere and study part of it. Because everything operates by law. In working with the law, we're dealing with secondary laws there. They're not the primary laws, but they're laws, and they're secondary. It's like attraction is a secondary law. The primary law is the law of vibration. The vibration you're in is going to dictate what you attract. But you've got to get into a vibration before it'll dictate what you attract. If you're in a bad vibration, you're going to attract something bad. And if you're in a good one, you'll attract something good. You can only attract according to the energy that you're involved in. So, just open it anywhere and study it. Okay.
All right, next one's from Anastasia. What are the activities for children ages 5 through 8 to help them understand the importance of the mind and its power?
Oh, listen, treat the child 5 through 8 the same as you would treat me or your next door neighbor. Understand the only difference. People just don't seem to understand this because they're small people. We think they have a small mind. There's only one mind. Their mind and your mind is the same mind. There's only one mind. There's many expressions of it. Now, the 5 and 8-year-old, the only thing they're lacking that you've probably got is experience and vocabulary. Their vocabulary is limited, and so is their experience. So if you take their experience and their vocabulary into consideration and then start teaching them the same as you teach anybody else. My goodness, we teach children languages, which isn't, by most people's standard, an easy thing to learn. Kids learn them. They'll learn 4 and 5 languages at the same time. That's sort of accepted in some areas. Well, start to accept that the child will learn anything if you teach it to them so they understand it.
All right, next one's from Niku. Hi, Bob. We use Frank Betger's ideas for selling and would love to build a sales team. It is reasonable to pay them a commission and no salary. Is it reasonable to pay them a commission and no salary? If so, how do you decide on the percentage to pay them?
Absolutely. Well, the different percentages, you know. I think that's the only way to help salespeople. And you can decide whatever commission you want, 10, 15, up to 50%, depending on what you're selling, you know.
All right, his second question, what is the best way to get the prospect to make a decision? Many of my current presentations end with, leave me some information, or I need to think about it, or I need to talk to my partner.
But what they're really saying is, you haven't made me want what you've got. When they say, you know, I want to think about it, well, what they're really saying is, you haven't made me want what you've got. You say, well, I think you should think about it. What is it you want to think about? I mean, do you want to think about whether you want to develop yourself? You want to think about whether you're going to use something different than you're using because you're stuck right now? I mean, hit them right in the head. When they're telling you anything, but yes, I'm not ready to go ahead, you have not sold them yet. Okay?
All right, next one's from Amaret. Do you have a technique for creating time space?
Do I what?
Do you have a technique for creating time space?
Well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. I utilize my time whatever way I want, and I think you should. I think what you should do is ask yourself, what are the most important things I have to do today? Prioritize them and then get busy. There's certain things that people put off that they shouldn't put off, and there's some things that will get done through neglect because they're not very important anyway. So I think what we have to do is look at what we're doing with our time and make ourselves as effective as we possibly can.
All right, and the second question is, I have several ideas for new inventions and businesses, but I'm stuck in the idea phase and haven't manifested answers on how to execute these ideas. Please advise.
You're not making decisions. Read the decision in Think and Grow Rich every day for a month. See, we're not taught to make decisions. You got these ideas, but you're not acting on them. Joe Gondolfo wrote a book. He said, ideas are a dime a dozen, but the person who acts on them is worth millions. Step out and take one idea and act on it. Make a decision. That's what you're not doing. You're not making decisions. You're procrastinating. Read the chapter on decision out of As Man Thinketh. It's one of the longest chapters in the book, but without question, it's one of the best. We are not taught in school to make decisions. Most people are not taught it at home when they're in their primitive years, not taught how to make decisions. So people go through life without making. That's why people wander around and say, what do you think I should do? I think you should wake up.
All right, next one's from Mary. I have facial scarring, which I know is causing me a self-image challenge. Can you help or suggest to me how to move on from this, as I know it's holding me back?
Why don't you go and get the scars removed? Go and get them removed. Go to a damn good cosmetic surgeon. Go and look into it. You don't need any money to go and get an opinion. Now, that's what I would do if I were you. It's a self-image thing. That's what Maxwell Maltz, he wrote the book Psycho-Cybernetic. That's what the book is about. He wrote that back around 1960. He said it was one of the greatest discoveries of his generation. It's a great one to go and study. Okay.
All right, next one's from Lamin. I want to work and train under you like you did with Earl Nightingale. How do I make that happen? I live in England. Will you mentor me like Earl did with you? I want to be able to teach this like you are doing.
Well, we have a number of people who want to do that. I would suggest you become a consultant with us if you're not already. And that's where you start. That's how I started with Earl Nightingale. I started out as a consultant. And I made up my mind I was going to get them to pay attention to me. I sold more than anybody else in their company. I loved the material. I had no trouble selling it to anybody because I loved it.
All right, next one's from Really? My house is disorganized and chaotic. I have a toddler who will dismantle each room after I get it organized. I don't want to stifle her creativity and imagination, but I work from home. Suggestions?
Well, bring as much order as you can. And don't blame the toddler. You know, they're going to cause a certain amount of confusion. I mean, they're exploring, and you're right. You don't want to stifle their creativity. But bring as much order as you can to the place as often as you can. And you're going to find that you'll be more effective. It's pretty hard to work and live in a chaotic environment, but you can bring order. Now, you could use the toddler as an excuse. Don't do that. Okay?
I actually kind of experienced that yesterday. My cleaning lady was here for like
kids, you know.
Yeah, well, my cleaning lady was here for almost 6 hours, and not even an hour after she left, my 3-year-old had the playroom with toys everywhere again. I'm like, can we keep the house clean for 1 hour? That's all I ask.
Yeah.
It's crazy. All right, next one's from Eleni. I recently bought the book Think and Grow Rich. How should I read it for best results? Read it once and then again and again, or should I read each chapter many times before I go on?
I would read the whole thing right through and then ask yourself, which chapter is really going to serve me the most right now? Go to that.
All right, so that's our last submitted question, but I do have a few that came in while we were on the call.
Let's do them.
All right, so this one's from Chris. He says, Bob, I am curious with regards to attitude. Do you have any advice to how we can reframe death of a loved one to a positive spin?
What is that? Read it again.
I am curious with regards to attitude. Do you have any advice to how we can reframe death of a loved one to a positive spin?
Well, first of all, let's understand, in truth, there's no such thing as death. There's only life. All science and all theology are very, very clear on this. Nothing is created or destroyed. When a baby is born, a soul moves into the body. When a person dies, the soul moves out of the body, and it moves on to the next phase of its eternal journey. Now, if we have a choice, we wouldn't want to hold them back. I was reading a book one time, and it says it's a good thing we don't choose when a person leaves, because we'd never let them leave. I was thinking of my mother and my grandmother, who I really loved dearly, and I was with them and they passed away. I would have never let them go because I wanted them to stay with me. But that's not the way it works. When a person leaves the body, it should be a celebration the same as when they enter the body. Everybody's joyous and happy when a baby's born, but they're crying and wailing when the person dies. It's a transition. You move into form, you move out of form. That is one of the great laws of the universe, the perpetual transmutation of energy. Energy moves into form, through form, and back into form. So when we start to see that and know that they haven't gone anywhere, they're still here. Talk to them. Talk to them. The Spirit's here. The Spirit didn't leave. The Bible tells you to call on the spirits and they'll be there. So start to look at it different. When you start to really understand this, you go to pay your respects at a funeral, you'll look at the remains totally different. You'll see it as the body that's laying there, but the person has moved on. They've moved on to the next phase of their eternal journey. Go ahead.
And Chris has a second question. Does the law of vibration defy all time and space?
The law of vibration determines the difference between spirit and matter, or non-physical and the physical. Everything vibrates, nothing rests. We live in an ocean of motion. Everything moves. The chair you're sitting on is moving. You may think it's still. It's not still. Look at it through a microscope, you see it moving. It's the composition of the energy that causes the chair to sit as it does and live as it does. But don't get too hung up on the laws. You know, your knowledge and your understanding of them will evolve as you keep going and keep studying this.
All right, next one's from Chuck. I must have submitted my question. Oh, sorry. It says, I find that when I start to make progress, I feel like I get pulled back farther in the wrong direction than before when I started. How do I break bad paradigms permanently and start to progress forward instead of the wrong direction?
Well, it takes a while to break paradigms permanently. Habits, they say habits die hard is an old saying. You've got to work on, if you're working on breaking a bad habit, replace it with a good one. And the bad habit is not going to want to die. The paradigm doesn't want to go away. You're going to keep working at it and keep affirming that you're doing the right thing. You're going in the right direction. You'll be fine. Just keep going. Keep the faith. Keep studying. Keep praising yourself for doing the right thing.
All right, next one's from Colin. He says, I'm currently fighting a paradigm that only 5% of people can be successful. Do you believe that 100% of people can be successful?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If one person can do something, any person can do it. You're working with the mind. The mind operates by law. Here's something else to understand. There's no such thing as mental retardation. That's a misnomer. Maybe some brain damage, but the mind is perfect. You see one person win, anybody can.
All right, that's all the extra questions that I had that were sent in. Do you have any last words you want to leave these people with?
Well, I want to tell you this program, Lead the Field, is probably one of the best programs you'll ever put your hands on. I have loved this program. I've loved it for years. And I taught this program and I broke it all down. I wanted to find out why I was winning. And this program contains all the answers that I learned over a 9.5-year period. And then what I've learned since then. The program is loaded with information. Keep studying it. It'll probably take you a lifetime to really digest the whole thing. I'm still working on it, and I've been doing it for a long, long time. I want to thank all of you for calling in, and I want to congratulate you for studying this. And Tracy, you do a phenomenal job. Everybody in the company loves Tracy. They love the work you do. You do great work. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.